welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. And we're here in Houston, Texas, where unfortunately the 2019 New York Yankees season has come to an end at the hands of the Houston Astros. And unfortunately the Astros will go on to the World Series for the second time in 3 years, and the Yankees will be sent packing home to a long flight back to New York with a lot of questions. And it was really, really annoying because on the National League side, you had the Washington Nationals waiting there for the American League winner. And the Nationals, yeah, they have Matt Scherzer, they have Strasburg, the good, those two top line pitchers. But other than that, the rest of the team, a very beatable team. So if the Yankees could have just somehow beat the Houston Astros, they would probably almost waltz and have been the World Series champions. But unfortunately, they're going home. The Astros are advancing, and it's just really tough because it was all there for the taking for the Yankees. I mean, yes, we know going in, Houston was the better team on paper. We knew that. It wasn't like any shocking, but there was so many situations that the Yankees could really easily won this almost like in 5 games if they really want to. And we'll get into each of the games what they did, but it really comes down to just left like a ton of runners on base. Couldn't really get that big hit, and it's not like the Houston Astros beat the Yankees brains in. It's just at certain little points, the Astros just get that 3-run homer at just the right time, and unfortunately they'll have like once for the Yankees. So they'll move on. We'll break down each of the games, the decisions, the managerial decisions, who's the heroes, who's the GOATs, what should have done in that situation, what should have done in this situation, and then moving on, where's the franchise go from here? Obviously in the offseason, Garrett Cole, who again helped eliminate the Yankees, he's gonna be available as a free agent. Should they go after him? What do you do about Brett Gardner? What do you do about Chapman, who gave up the final home run of the series and had that little smile on his face, which I think people all react to. So we'll get to all this, but we're going to start off with Game 1. Now, Game 1, we got into it in the last episode a little bit, but we'll break down a little further. Now, of course, we also know the Houston Astros have the superior starting pitching in the New York Yankees, so that wasn't like a big shocker. But of the big three, of course, they have Verlander, they have Garrett Cole, and they have Zach Greinke, who they got in the midseason. But of the three of them, Greinke is the most vulnerable. He's a great pitcher, probably halfway onto the Hall of Fame. But again, he had the anxiety problems. He doesn't like the big stage. So if there was someone to beat up, he was going to be that guy in match against him. With the Yankees, it was going to be Masahiro Tanaka. Now, Game 1 was quite a surprise. I mean, the Yankees just came out there. It kind of was a fast-moving game. Tanaka and Greinke were kind of matching zeros for the first few innings, but eventually the Yankees did break through on Greinke, taking a 3-0 lead. And as you got some home runs from Gleyber Torres. Eventually, later on, you get some home runs from Stanton. Another home run later on by Gio Urshela, and Tanaka gave you 6 scoreless innings. Very dominant. I mean, it looks like he just blew through the Astros through the first 6 innings, and it was quite a surprise because just based on last time the Yankees went to Houston during the playoffs in 2017, the Yankees lost both games. They lost all the games. It looks like they had no shot. So for the first game of this series to really get that Game 1 in Houston, it was big. It was just great. It was unexpected. And then you move into Game 2, you figure, all right, if we can just get to 2 games, then we'll be able to close out in the Bronx. So not much to complain about Game 1, and pretty much smooth as silk. You got 6 innings from Tanaka. Bullpen came in. They didn't give up any runs, and pretty much the Astros, they hardly even reached like third base. So they was pretty much totally shut down. It was totally unexpected. So when you win a game 7-0, not much to complain about. So then you move ahead to Game 2, where you have now James Paxton going up against the big bad Verlander. Ooh. So Game 2, and this was one of the 2 probably most important games of the entire series. I would say Game 2 and Game 4, and I'll get into each little why. So now if you're the Yankees, you just won the first game, you're up 1-0. Now you want to get a little greedy. Probably going into Houston, you would say, hey, look, if we could just get a split, that's great. But after beating their brains out 7-0 in the first game, you really figure, hey, maybe we could take the second one and then we close out in the Bronx, which ideally would have been great if you're the Yankees. So you have Justin Verlander, who's the big, bad, evil Verlander, who the Yankees could never defeat in the postseason, up against James Paxton. Now, Paxton previously started against the Minnesota Twins in his first career postseason start in his entire career. Pretty good. He only went, gave up 3 runs, not too bad. One of them was a Yankee Stadium cheapy home run, but pitched very well. Kept his composure, even though got down a little bit early, and the Yankees were able to win. So you figure, all right, now the test is to go to the next level in Houston, and of course up against Verlander. So you needed Paxton to give the Yankees a little more length. Unfortunately, he was only able to go 2 1/3 inning, and that stressed out the bullpen because now instead of a bullpen having only to get through 4 innings, they had to get through 6 2/3 inning, which is asking a lot, even for the Yankee bullpen, which is considered the best of the best. So Paxton imploded early. He was down 1-0. Boone and Sawyer just didn't have it, yanked him out early, and put in Chad Green. Chad Green wasn't bad. He was fine at all. And then a little later on in the game, Aaron Judge hits a 2-run home run off of Justin Verlander. So now the Yankees, great, have a 2-1 lead. Now, Chad Green was rolling along, and then one of the questions, or one of the, decision that Aaron Boone's going to be questioned on is, why didn't you let Green go a little further? Well, he gave the Yankees like 2 innings. That's usually about what he does. I don't think you want to burn him out too much. Yes, he was rolling along, but unfortunately, he decided to bring in Adam Ottavino, who during the Minnesota series and pretty much for the bulk of the Astros series wasn't good at all. Yes, he was one of the main guys of the Yankees, during the regular season, but in the postseason, he was one of the stinkboys, and we'll get into him later in terms of the GOATs of the series. So he comes in, first pitch to George Springer, hits a home run, ties the game 2-2. I meant the first pitch. I could see it's like you're battling him a little bit, and it's like, it's a 3-2 pitch, and you have to throw him a strike, okay. The first pitch, you come out, and he gives up a home run. Now the game's 2-2. And from there, it just became a battle of the bullpens. I mean, literally, Boone emptied out the tank. Even CC got some action there. Jonathan Loaiza got some action there. And then J Happ as well. And it's probably it's his first postseason action ever. Now, to the Yankees' credit, they did bring it into the 10th inning, but unfortunately, they were susceptible to the walk-off. So you had Carlos Correa, who hit an RBI double early in the game, made it 1-0. Now, there was a middle point of the game while it's still 2-2 where the Yankees could have broke through. They had 2 runners on with Brett Gardner at plate, Justin Verlander pitcher. Gardner smokes one up the middle, hits off Altuve's glove. Now, DJ LeMahieu had to make an instant decision. He was running from second. Now, against Verlander, it's very tough to get runs. So you have any opportunity, you have to go for it. And, of course, the third base coach, Phil Nevin, did wave him in technically, so I guess there's 2 people guilty on it. But I can't blame both of them because the game's tied 2-2. You have an opportunity to take, a lead against Verlander. You got to go for it. LeMahieu goes for it, but unfortunately Carlos Correa, who killed his Yankees the entire game too, throws him out from second base. Verlander's pumped. The Yankees are kind of deflated. And then when you get into the extra innings, unfortunately at that point, the Yankees had to go with Happ for the rest of the way. They ready to use Britton, they're ready to use Chapman, so it's pretty much Happ's game for the rest of the way, which how that's going to end. And then unfortunately, Carlos Correa again hits a game-winning walk-off home run. And of course, they're pumped up, they're jazzed up. For the Yankees, they're like, oh man, we could have really, we could have left Houston up 2-0. For them, they're probably feeling a little better about themselves, and they're kind of carrying that momentum back to the Bronx for Game 3. So Game 3 now it shifts back to the Bronx, where now you have Luis Severino going against the other dragon, the other 2-headed monster, Garrett Cole of the Houston Astros. And you needed Severino to be, ace. I know this season he missed most of the season. Can't blame him too much, and he pitched rather well in Game 3 of the Minnesota series. Got us some major jams, so you figure, all right, such like Paxton, maybe he was ready for the next level, the next test. Unfortunately, wasn't. Third pitch of the game against Altuve, gives up a solo home run. Ready puts the Yankees in the hole. And then at the bottom of the frame, Yankees load the bases, and again, this will be a theme pretty much throughout the rest of the playoffs. Load the bases, get nothing out of it, strand all the runners. Right at the end of the second inning, again, Severino gives up another solo home run. So now the Yankees are down 2-0. Now, Severino did settle in, to his credit, but he was only able to go 4 1/3 inning. And there's another situation again where they had to yank the starter out early, and you asked the Yankee bullpen to extend itself even more than it should have. At the end of the day, ended up 4-1. I mean, the Yankees, Gleyber Torres hit a little cosmetic home run towards the end in the 8th inning, but really, the Yankees really had nothing going after that first inning. Garrett Cole came in, and it was filthy. Pretty much shut him down. He, in terms of Cole, hadn't lost a game since May, so maybe it was due to loss, but of course he wasn't. And he wasn't even overly sharp. I mean, overall, walked 5 batters, which is something he hasn't done all season long. But again, anytime the Yankees got some runners on, couldn't do anything, couldn't get any rallies together. And it was kind of deflating because now you have, all right, Tanaka gives you a good start, but you get a miserable start by Paxton, now a miserable start by Severino, and then you're looking toward this Game 4, which at the time was going to be a bullpen game, you thought. Now, actually, Mother Nature actually helped out the Yankees. Game 4 ended up being a rainout, pushed it back a little bit, which, again, was good news for the Yankees because they would have had to go to a bullpen game that game. Now, possibly the Astros might have to do the same thing. They didn't really announce any 4th starter, but at least gave this situation where now you could bring Tanaka back on normal rest. And since he had a brilliant Game 1, you would depend on, all right, we're down 2 games to 1, but maybe Tanaka could get us back and tie this thing 2-2. So Game 4, the rematch of the Game 1 starters, Masahiro Tanaka versus Zach Greinke. And this is exactly the spot where you wanted Zack Greinke on the mound at Yankee Stadium. With his social anxiety disorders and hating the big spotlight and stuff like that. I mean, to have like 50,000 lunatics yelling and screaming, throwing popcorn down on him. This is the situation you want him in, and actually that story will come out after that. And for Masahiro Tanaka, again, pitched brilliantly in Game 1, and just for the past couple of seasons, most reliable pitcher for the Yankees in the postseason. You'll like this matchup. Again, you're down 2-1, but you were confident that, all right, Tanaka could tie it up 2-2. Somehow, if you win Game 5, you move on to Houston up 3-2. Same situation the Yankees were in 2017, but hopefully this time you close it out. Unfortunately, none of that came to fruition. Top of the first inning, all right, Tanaka got through it, but you get to see the Houston bats. They were onto his pitches. I mean, even the outs were lined outs. They were hitting the ball hard. They were fouling the ball off hard. You just figure, oh, you know what? You're not going to get the same type of performance you got from Tanaka in Game 1 where, yeah, his splitter was going to the dirt, his slider was going outside, they were swinging at pitches, a lot of taking cold third strikes on the zone. I mean, he had the Astro batters completely fooled in Game 1. Wasn't the case in Game 4. And for Greinke, now there was the opportunity to get at him, bottom of the first, loading the bases up with only 1 out. I mean, there was an opportunity to put a crooked number on the board, and probably from there he would have wilted, he would have folded. Unfortunately, and to his credit, I mean, he was out there, he was sweating, they had to come talk to him, he was walking batters, but he did buckle down, he did get out of the jam, and then from there, he pretty much got settled in, which he didn't want. And for Tanaka, same thing, he was kind of struggling along the way, but eventually they did get to him. 3-run home run by George Springer, put them up 3-0. You figure, all right, we could still get the Greinke a little bit, but bring in Chad Green by the 5th inning, and you figure, all right, Greeny was good in Game 2, maybe could carry that in Game 4, gives at least 2 or 3 innings, just so, stop the bleeding at 3-0. Unfortunately, he didn't do much better there. Gives a 3-run home run to Carlos Correa. So now the Yankees are behind 6-0, and it was just a miserable day at the stadium. And as I mentioned, that Game 2 was just so crucial. I mean, there was 6 games, but Game 2 was so crucial because the Yankees had the opportunity to go up 2-0, and it was right there, and they blew it. And you go back to 1-1, you gave Houston a little life. This game was just so deflating in so many ways. And really, to me, this was the game that almost ended the series. I mean, pretty much gave the World Series to the Houston Astros. Like, yeah, they still have to play the Nationals, but I think this one really closed it out. Because the whole night, I mean, the body language wasn't there. You had 3 balls hit to LeMahieu where he was positioned perfectly to make the play. Now, the ball has a funny hop, so you give him a little leeway, and overall, he's been brilliant for the Yankees, but he was making errors. You had CC Sabathia coming out of the bullpen in his last appearance as a New York Yankee and as a baseball professional. They used him in the bullpen in Game 2. He was all right. Brought him out for Game 4, and unfortunately had some discomfort on the mound. It turns out he has a partially separated shoulder. And just to see him, like he walked off all right. He was able to get a big hand by the crowd, but you could just see, he was completely deflated, just knowing that's how his career is going to end. And as for the Yankees, it was a miserable night. Okay, you finally, Gary Sanchez finally woke up, hit a home run, great, made it 6-3 later on. But from there, the Yankees, it's turned into a complete slop fest. And, they just lost the game in miserable fashion. And now Houston's up 3-0. And again, just with Sabathia going out that way, you're down 3-0. You feel, all right, how are we going to win 3 games in a row against the Houston Astros where at some point you're going to have to, again, beat Verlander and Cole? It just seemed impossible. So you go to Game 5, just figure, all right, you know what? If we could just somehow win and just get this back to Houston, it's possible. But really, that Game 4, that really just deflated the whole team. Because if you could have won that, you would be 2-2. Even if somehow you lose Game 5, I mean, you're still kind of bummed out. But the fact, once you're down 3-1, it just goes in your head that you're not going to win the series. So let's go around and see what happens in Game 5. So Game 5, the Yankees behind 3-1. They're kind of down in the pits. Game 4 was a slop fest, an 8-3 loss where you got DJ LeMahieu booting balls, and you had balls going past Gary Sanchez, and it was a miserable day. And you had CC Sabathia basically even walked off the field because he can't pitch anymore, and that's how his career closes out. Very sad ending, but for Game 5, really this is where Mother Nature took its course because, when they had the rain out on the Wednesday night, they basically moved the Wednesday ticket to Friday. So basically that means you would have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's 4 games in a row where you need your starter to give you length because even if somehow you win the Game 5, you need your bullpens for Game 6s and Game 7. So James Paxton, who wasn't good in Game 2, only going 2 1/3 inning, you need him to give you some length and especially going up against Justin Verlander. And Paxton, to his credit, bounced back. He had a good, strong performance. Now, you looked at the line, it's not impressive, but gave the Yankees 6 innings. Now, the top of the first was kind of scary because it was kind of the same slop fest. The ball gets past Gary Sanchez. That run eventually scores. So the Yankees are down 1-0, and it almost seems like a continuation of Game 4. It's like, all right, here we go again. And then you figure, all right, Paxton's kind of going to wilt just like he did in Game 2. Fortunately, it didn't happen, and he got helped out by his offense, well, for the first time. The offense woke up a little bit. Now, in the bottom of the first, you have DJ LeMahieu with a solo home run off of Verlander. Okay, solo, but it just relaxed everyone a bit, made it 1-1. Like, all right, we got to Verlander a little bit. And then I think it maybe woke up the Yankees' bats a little bit. Judge followed with a hit after that. Soon enough, you had 2 runners on with Aaron Hicks up, and Aaron Hicks pretty amazingly. I mean, he really wasn't supposed to be on the roster throughout the series, hadn't played almost 2 months. He came back and he pretty much looked like he didn't skip a beat. Now, early on, he wasn't really hitting the ball that much, but taking a lot of walks. I mean, he didn't lose his eye at the plate. Again, drawing a lot of pitches, which is helpful there. And of course, if you can put him defensively in center field, you can then move Gardner to left field. Just give yourself a more premium, a better type of defense. And Aaron Hicks then finally contributed with the bat, hitting a big 3-run home run off the pole. So really, Hicks did hit it to the sticks, probably for the first time. I think he always hits it into the crowd, but he actually hit it to the sticks. Put the Yankees ahead 4-1, and you feel good. I mean, the stadium was rocking. This probably the loudest Yankee Stadium was throughout this, the 3-game set in the Bronx for the series. Now, Verlander, he did finally lock in, and pretty much he was untouchable after that. But that was okay, because so was James Paxton. He battled and battled. Gave the Yankees 6 innings on 112 pitches, exactly what you needed. Where you didn't have to go get 7 or 6 innings from your bullpen. And Paxton pretty much limited the damage there, and the Yankees were able to go on to win 4-1. And okay, great, you staved off elimination, but you still don't feel too confident, because at some point you were down 3-1, and it's like, all right, it's just you're ready in the mind, you're lost, and all right, you just maybe pushing back the inevitable. Now you have to go back to Houston for 2 more games on the road. One of those games, Garrett Cole's going to start. But I guess, just from that standpoint, you'd rather go to Houston than, go home and pack your bags. So from there, then, it's onward to Houston. So Game 6, the Yankees staved off elimination Game 5, take the series back to Houston, Texas. But you still don't feel great. Again, very similar to 2010. The Yankees are down 3-1 to the Texas Rangers. Maybe the Yankees should stop playing teams from the state of Texas. CC Sabathia gave a good start in Game 5, made it 3-2, took it down to Texas, but we're kind of flat. And this almost had very similar script, very similar likelihood. But the only good news from it is that after Game 5, both A.J. Hinch and Aaron Boone, both managers, announced that it was going to be a bullpen game, which you would think the Yankees have the advantage of. Again, they have the better bullpen. Throughout the regular season, they had a better bullpen. And, for the opener, they, pretty much would use Chad Green. The Yankees at one point was 7-0 in games when they used Chad Green as the opener. Again, so you like the situation going in. What you didn't expect is what happened in the bottom of the first. Chad Green giving up a 3-run bomb to Carlos Correa, who pretty much killed the Yankees throughout this regular season. Again, he hits a walk-off home run in Game 2, makes that great diving play to gun down LeMahieu in Game 2 as well, and also hits a 3-run home run against Chad Green in Game 4 as well. So, Correa, maybe they should pitch him out, I don't know, but he hits a 3-run home run, puts the Yankees in a very unexpected 3-0 hole. You figure, all right, if anything, maybe give up a solo home run, maybe down 1-0, not a big deal. It's just a situation. I know you can't control it, but you can't fall down 3-0 that early in the game, especially if you're the road team, especially when you're down 3-2. Now, Yankees kind of recovered a little bit. You had Gary Sanchez hitting finally making contact with the ball for the second time throughout the series. I mean, he was miserable the whole way. We'll get into that more. He hits a double, brings in Didi Gregorius, makes the game 3-1. Later on that, the Yankees start chipping away a little bit. Gio Urshela, who was in a terrible funk at one point, 0 for 14, he chips in with a home run to right field. Narrows it down to 3-2, and then right after him, Brett Gardner hits a ball just almost was going to hit the foul pole, but veered off a little to the right, missed it. Would have tied the game 3-3. Unfortunately, he got another crack out of it, didn't home run. So the Yankees were down 3-2, and from there the bullpens both settled in on both sides. Tommy Kahnle was great. Now later on, they had to bring in Zach Britton, wasn't as sharp. He let in a run, so now the Yankees were down 4-2 in the 9th inning against Roberto Osuna, the Astros closer, who was pretty much nasty on the Yankees the whole way. But you figure at some point maybe they're going to get to him, and they finally did. Now in the top of the 9th, Gio Urshela leads it off with a hit. All right, great. You have the tying run out. You have a runner on, so now the tying run comes to plate. And DJ LeMahieu, the Yankees MVP, hits a 2-run home run. Barely just goes over the wall in right field, and you tie the game at 4-4. And of course, the Yankees are pumped out. They run out of the outfield like that. But really, that was almost fool's gold, because you needed to take the lead there. Because even if you bring Chapman out in the bottom of the 9th, okay, great, you close the 9th, but you still need to take the lead in the 10th and then have Chapman pitch another game and pitch another inning in the bottom of the 10th, and that's asking a lot. So you really, great, you tied the game 4-4, but to me that was almost an aberration. And then after that, Judge strikes out, and the Yankees do nothing in that inning. And now you have the situation where not only you have Chapman has to have a clean ninth, because if he gives up one run, that's the end of the whole story. But you somehow need to take the lead in the top of the 10th, and then have Chapman come out again, because otherwise, I don't know. Only other option the Yankees might have had was like Jonathan Loizaga. I mean, at that point, they used Happ, they used Luis Cessa, and of course, as you know, CeCe's no longer available. So you need to get 2 innings from Chapman. And for the first 2 batters in the bottom of the ninth, Chapman was rather sharp, and for whatever reason, he just lost it. And which we've kind of seen that from Chapman. I mean, he had a great regular season, but he would have these periods where, because he has the funky leg kick in his arm, he talks his body a lot, and he gave him a walk, and then finally that set up to the final showdown against Jose Altuve, who hurt the Yankees in Game 3 to home run, the former MVP. Little guy, but a lot of power, hits a 2-1 bomb to left center field and puts the Astros up 6-4. And again, since it was the bottom of the ninth, it was a walk-off, ending the game, ending the Yankee season. And of course, everyone talks about Chapman, have that little grin on his face, which I don't blame him. I mean, people are reading way too much into that. I just think, it's kind of an embarrassing situation. You have egg on your face, maybe just smile. Mariano Rivera used to do the same thing all the time. It just seemed sometimes he would give up an unexpected home run. He would almost like laugh it off to the bullpen because he's just so surprised. And for the Yankees, this game in general was just such a microcosm of the way the whole series went. I mean, you had so many situations. We had runners on, especially, for example, Didi Gregorius had bases loaded. They bring out Presley, who the Yankees used to rock him all the time. First pitch, is his little dribbler down to first base and gets out of the jam. Gardner had a situation where he had 2 runners on. Now, umpire called 2 bad balls in a row on him, but he would eventually make out. And time and time again, they would get runners on and just do nothing with it. And that was kind of the microcosm of the whole season, as well as just the bullpen. Didn't just step up to the game the way the Astros bullpen performed. Again, the Yankees were supposed to have the better bullpen. Didn't work out, and really the only rub against him was probably the 2-run home run against Ozuna, who pretty much is probably their closer. Other than that, the bullpen pretty much matched the Yankees pitch for pitch. And for the Yankees, again for this second time in 3 seasons, they're sent home packing early at the hands of the Houston Astros. And now you're stuck in a situation where all right, you're gonna have to answer a lot of questions. What do we do about Brett Gardner? Chapman, is he going to opt out of his contract? Garrett Cole, who the Yankees didn't have to face for Game 7, he's going to be a free agent. Should we go after them? But overall, it's just so disappointing because, as I said at the top, the series was right there for the taking. And really, as I said before, it was Games 2 and 4 were the ones that were the real killers. Because if you could have went up 2-0 and after Game 2, you probably really feel good about taking at least 2 out of 3 at home in the Bronx. You got all the momentum, all the adrenaline going your way. They fall short there. And then the Game 4 with Tanaka, you figure, all right, can we have a reliable Tanaka tie this up at 2-2? He wilters there, and now they put the Yankees in that 3-1 hole. And it's always, okay, great, you win the one game, you stretch it out a little bit. But really, it was Games 2 and Games 4 that really would determine the series. And great they got to a Game 6, and they had the chance, really, it's just they had the chance right there. They had so many runners on to steal Game 6. You don't know what would have happened in Game 7. Probably would have lost it as well, but the Game 6 was a big disappointment, and now you're going to have to face these questions. You have to go into offseason, and it's the same situation you had almost in 2017. Lack of starting pitching, hitting too many home runs, and what can we do to finally get past this this Astro franchise? So let's look at our heroes and goats. Who do you want to blame? Who do you want to curse out? Who do you want to say, call in and talk and say, get rid of this person? Well, let's first look at the manager, Aaron Boone. Not too much you could complain about. I guess the one move people question about was Game 2. Did you take Chad Green out too early? Now, Ottavino was struggling pretty much towards the end of the season. At the end of the Minnesota series wasn't really that effective. Now, that didn't really hurt the Yankees. Now, in Game 2, it did. First, takes Chad Green out, puts Ottavino in. First pitch to George Springer, gives up a home run that tied the game at the point 2-2. And it was really deflating because without that home run, the Yankees were up 2-1, and again, the Yankee bullpen the rest of the way was pretty good. And they probably hold on and win a 2-1 game. Can't say that for sure, but again, you can't blame Boone because at that point, again, Green had thrown 2 innings, used a lot of pitches, and this is the way the Yankees rolled throughout the Minnesota series. No one had a problem with it, so I'm not gonna get Boone get on Boone tough on that. Maybe say, all right, well, you didn't bring Canely in instead. I'm sure they went to the numbers on it, and if the numbers say one thing, you got to go with the numbers. So. For that, so I'm not gonna get him Boone for that case. Now, later on, maybe in Sion, there was a lot of talk about because he was kind of miserable throughout the whole way. Maybe at some point should he put in maybe instead of maybe give Voit a shot, something like that. But he's stuck with the veteran. again, I still really can't blame him because at that point, Voit hadn't even played. I mean, he didn't play in the Minnesota series, and you can't assume that everyone's like Aaron Hicks, where you can just plug him in there after 2 months and it's going to be great. So I don't think Aaron Boone did anything tremendously bad. Pretty much made the right call more often than not. It's just some of the more reliable pitchers, such as Chad Green, just didn't come through it. And I mean, he gave up 2 3-run homers throughout the season. I mean, you just didn't see that coming. So it's just a case that he get jumped. So I'm not going to really blame Aaron Boone for anything, top level. Now, if you want to go with some of the individual players, Gary Sanchez, absolutely miserable. Now, he had a good 2019 season. After, remember, 2018 season, it was quite bad. Fans wanted to get rid of him, saying he's lazy. He wasn't hitting the same. He wasn't blocking the plate good. Defensively this season, he really stepped up. He was almost a different player. Was hitting well. Now he spent a lot of time on the IL. Was injured a lot. So, but even with that in mind, he hit a lot of home runs. So he had a good bounce back season. But whatever happened once the clock struck in September, it just wasn't the same. Now he was out towards the end of September, so possibly he could have his groin, which has been bothering him all season long. Maybe he was playing through it. It's possible. He didn't complain about it. He didn't give it as an excuse, but it is a strong possibility. Because everyone was talking about the time the injury happened that he was done for the season. The fact that he did come back in for the playoffs just shows that maybe it was just playing hurt, which again it would make sense because. Defensively, he was sloppy. He wasn't blocking the ball the way he was, and hitting, he was pitching, getting. I mean, he was completely lost at the plate. And in terms of other players, Edwin Encarnacion, who was great for the Yankees when they picked him up. Good, he spent some time also on the IL in September. But first game 1 against Minnesota's in the divisional series, hits 2 doubles, smoked the first double he hit. So he looked like he was fine. But whatever reason, once they got to the Houston series, he just stopped hitting. Now with Giancarlo Stanton, he came back for game 1. He hit a home run. He was great, but unfortunately in that first at bat, running to first base, he tweaked his quad and he missed games 2, 3, and 4. So it wasn't a case where you could sit in Encarnacion and just put Stanton in there, which would have been the choice. Well, Stanton wasn't available, so they had to keep going with Encarnacion. Chad Green kind of got into it. One of the better bullpen arms for the Yankees. He was miserable out of Vito. Again, he only gave 1 home run, but that 1 home run was a killer for the Yankees, so that was kind of miserable. So let's talk about some of the players that actually showed up. The leadoff hitter, DJ LeMahieu. Okay, he had the miserable game 4 in terms of his defense, but overall, it was a good, same hitting machine he was in the regular season, and of course had some, 2 pretty big home runs. The one in game 5, the tie the score, 1-1 against Verlander, and of course in game 6, hitting a 2-run home run in the 9th inning, a very dramatic home run to tie the game 4-4. Okay, they lost the game, but 2 major clutch home runs and played some great defense at first base, and he's not even a natural first baseman. Then after that, Judge. Now it's hard to judge, get it? But really, he wasn't great this series, but he also wasn't terrible. I mean, he had his moments. He had big walks, and he had walks. He would get some hits once in a while, but he didn't really have any dramatic big 3-run home runs, or he didn't hit like a grand slam. But even though he wasn't in that situation. He just really didn't do anything to sort of push the envelope. He was just kind of there. So can't really. He's just kind of. I'll give him a medium, middle, half score. Now the guy who really stepped up and kind of took his career almost to the next stage was Gleyber Torres, who almost about to turn 23, and for a tremendous regular season he had where he almost hit 40 home runs for a second baseman, which is pretty much unheard of. He also hit some big clutch hits in the postseason, and for a young guy to do this, that's great, because now the Yankees have this guy for another 10, 12 years. And if you want to talk about Paxton bouncing back in game 5, that's okay. I mean, again, I'm not going to put him in the good or bad pile. He's just kind of in the Judge pile of being in the middle. Well, thank you, partner, for staying with us this entire 2019 season, but don't worry, we'll still be back in the off season.